Welcome back to the channel Coins Collector everyone. Today we are diving into one of the most surprising and exciting discoveries in the world of modern American coin collecting. We are going to be talking about a coin that most people have probably seen hundreds of times in their lives, a coin that usually goes unnoticed in pocket change, but in certain rare cases can be worth an unbelievable amount of money. That coin is the 2004 Roosevelt dime, sometimes simply called the P1 dime because of the Philadelphia Mint mark. Believe it or not, a coin that many people think of as just small change, worth only 10 cents, has examples that have sold for more than $34,000 on today's market. Yes, you heard that right. $34,000 for a coin that many people would not even bother to bend down and pick up off the ground. Now, before we get into the full story, let me give a warm welcome to everyone watching. If you are new here, make sure you subscribe because this channel is all about coin values, rare finds, coin history, and helping you spot treasures that may be hiding in your own pocket change. For returning viewers, welcome back. You already know the thrill of discovering how ordinary-looking coins can sometimes carry extraordinary stories and extraordinary values. And today's topic is one of the best examples of that. So let us set the stage. The dime has been an essential part of American currency for well over a century. The Roosevelt dime, specifically, was first introduced in 1946 as a way of honoring President Franklin Delano Roosevelt after his passing. He had been instrumental in founding the March of Dimes campaign to fight polio, so the dime was a fitting tribute. Since 1946, the design has remained largely the same. On the front of the coin, or what collectors call the obverse, you have the left-facing portrait of Roosevelt. On the reverse, you see a torch in the center symbolizing liberty, flanked by an olive branch on one side and an oak branch on the other. That combination represents peace, strength, and freedom. This design has been struck for decades, and billions of Roosevelt dimes have been produced. Now here is where it gets interesting. Most 2004 dimes are nothing special. They are struck in a copper-nickel clad composition, they weigh about 2.27 grams, and they are worth exactly 10 cents in circulation. But, and this is a big but, certain rare errors and certain rare conditions can turn an ordinary dime into a treasure. When you hear the phrase P1 dime 2004 USA coin value, you are really talking about one of the rarest and most desirable pieces that slipped through the cracks at the Philadelphia Mint. Let us talk history for a moment. The Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of dimes in 2004. In fact, combined with the Denver Mint, the mintage runs into the billions. But not every coin that rolls off the press is perfect. Sometimes the dies that strike the coins are misaligned. Sometimes the planchets are imperfect. Sometimes a transitional metal blank gets mixed in, or a proof strike makes its way into circulation by mistake. It is these rare errors and unusual varieties that get collectors extremely excited. Because while billions of normal dimes exist, those rare errors might exist in quantities of only a handful, sometimes even just one. And rarity, combined with collector demand, is what drives value sky high. One of the most famous examples of this from 2004 is the Roosevelt dime that ended up selling for $34,000. Why so much? Well, it was a combination of factors. First, it was in extraordinary condition. Collectors grade coins on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a flawless perfect coin. The higher the grade, the more valuable it is, especially for modern coins where lower grades are common but pristine high grades are extremely tough to find. Second, it had a rare striking characteristic that set it apart. Error coins and high-grade coins together create a recipe for record-breaking prices. Now, you might be wondering, how can an everyday coin become such a valuable treasure? The answer lies in both history and human psychology. Coins tell a story. Each one is a piece of metal that has been through countless hands, traveled across the country, and silently witnessed daily life. Most are forgotten, but when collectors realize that a certain date, a certain mint mark, or a certain strike is rare, they begin to compete for ownership. That competition drives auctions higher and higher. And when two or more serious collectors want the same coin, the bidding can become fierce. That is exactly what happened with the 2004 Roosevelt dime that hit the $34,000 mark. Think about it this way. A dime is usually just 10 cents. If you lined up 10 of them, you would have $1. But when a coin is both rare and historically significant, it transforms from money into a collectible. And collectibles do not follow the same rules as everyday money. Instead of value being tied to face value, it becomes tied to scarcity and desire. The rarer the coin, the greater the demand. And the greater the demand, the more collectors are willing to pay. Now here is a fun thought. How many times have you walked past a dime on the sidewalk? How many dimes have you tossed into a jar without even looking at the year or the mint mark? How many times have you received a dime in change and passed it along without thinking twice? Any one of those coins could theoretically be one of the rare ones. It is unlikely, of course, but the possibility is what makes this hobby so thrilling. That is why I always encourage viewers to check their change, to learn what to look for, and to stay curious. You never know when a coin worth tens of thousands of dollars might slip into your hands disguised as pocket change. So let us go deeper into the 2004 dime. The majority of them, as I said, are clad coins worth face value. But the coin market is filled with niches. Collectors hunt for coins in the best possible condition, meaning coins that look almost untouched. They also hunt for error coins, like off-center strikes, double dies, or coins struck on the wrong planchet. A dime struck on a blank meant for another denomination can become a prized possession. And when a coin combines both rarity and condition, that is when we see the magic of auctions like the one that pushed a single dime to the $34,000 mark. The market value today is proof of just how much collectors love these rarities. Even now, almost 20 years later, 2004 dimes in ordinary condition are worth only face value. But if you find one in a high grade, or if you happen to stumble across a genuine error, the value skyrockets. Collectors are still willing to pay premium prices. And the market has remained strong because every year new collectors enter the hobby, eager to find that once-in-a-lifetime coin. So when we talk about the 2004 P1 dime USA coin history and value, we are really telling a story of how something ordinary becomes extraordinary. It is the story of minting errors, of overlooked details, of the passion of collectors, and of the way history hides in plain sight. And perhaps most importantly, it is a reminder that sometimes the smallest things can hold the biggest surprises. As you keep watching today's video, we are going to break down the details even more. We will look at the history of the Roosevelt dime series. We will explain why 2004 stands out among modern dates. We will explore what to look for if you want to check your own pocket change. And we will dive into the current market, where demand for rare dimes continues to grow. So stick around, because by the end of this video you will not only know why a 2004 Roosevelt dime sold for $34,000, but you will also be armed with the knowledge to spot potential treasures of your own. This is one of the most exciting parts of the coin collecting world. The hunt never ends, the discoveries keep coming, and the possibilities are endless. Welcome back to the channel. Let us jump into the fascinating world of the 2004 Roosevelt dime, a coin that proves even the smallest piece of change can be worth a fortune. Today we are diving deep into one of the most surprising and valuable modern coins that you may never have thought twice about. I am talking about the 2005 P. Roosevelt dime. That is right, a 10-cent coin minted just a few years ago, a coin that most people spend without a second thought, and yet under the right conditions it has been known to bring in as much as $25,000 on the coin market. Yes, you heard me correctly, a single dime in your pocket change could be worth more than some used cars, more than many people's monthly salaries, and in some cases it could equal the cost of a down payment on a home. Now before we get into the specifics of value, errors, and the reasons this dime is so sought after, let us first take a step back and talk about what makes the Roosevelt dime such an important part of American coinage history. The dime as a denomination has been part of the United States currency system since the late 1700s, but the Roosevelt design was first introduced in 1946. That was the year following the death of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States. Roosevelt was beloved by many, and he was also closely associated with the March of Dimes, an organization created to combat polio. It only made sense that the dime, the smallest coin in regular circulation, would carry his image. Since then, for decades, the Roosevelt dime has remained in production with only minor adjustments over the years. It is one of those coins that most of us see daily and rarely think about. Fast forward to 2005. The Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of Roosevelt dimes that year. Most of them look completely ordinary. If you line them up, you will see the familiar left-facing portrait of Franklin Roosevelt, the inscriptions Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, the mint mark P for Philadelphia, and the date 2005. On the reverse, the design shows a torch in the center symbolizing liberty, flanked by an olive branch for peace and an oak branch for strength and independence. Simple, clean, and very American. But here is where things get fascinating. Among those millions of coins struck in Philadelphia, a few came out with unusual features, rare minting errors, and extraordinary conditions that make them stand out to collectors. And when something common becomes rare because of a mistake or a unique strike, that is when values skyrocket. Now you might be asking, what kind of error could possibly make a dime worth $25,000? Well, the world of coin errors is a world of its own. Collectors prize coins that are double-struck, coins struck on the wrong planchet, coins with missing details, coins with full torch designations, and coins that have minting varieties that are extremely hard to find. With the 2005 P. Roosevelt dime, several key varieties and errors have been identified that can dramatically increase value. For example, a 2005 P dime in pristine condition with a full torch designation graded by a top grading company can already be worth hundreds or even thousands. But there have also been reports of coins struck on experimental planchets, coins struck off-center, and coins with unique die breaks or clashes that make them one of a kind. To understand why the market places such a high value on these coins, you need to look at how the numismatic community works. Rarity combined with condition equals value. If there are only a handful of 2005 P dimes in perfect mint state 68 or 69, collectors will compete fiercely to own one. That competition drives the price up, sometimes into the tens of thousands of dollars. It is a matter of supply and demand. The supply is extremely small, the demand among serious collectors is strong, and the end result is that a dime that would normally buy you almost nothing in today's economy can suddenly be worth life-changing money. Imagine the excitement of finding one of these coins. Picture yourself going through your spare change, looking at the dates, and suddenly spotting that 2005 P dime that looks just a little different. Maybe the strike is sharper, maybe the surface gleams in a way you have not seen before, maybe you notice a doubling on the letters or a strange outline on the torch. That moment of discovery is what keeps collectors searching every day. It is like a treasure hunt that never ends. And the stories are real. There have been people who submitted coins to grading companies like PCGS or NGC only to find out that their coin, which they thought was just pocket change, was actually a rare gem worth thousands. Another important point to remember is that the coin market is always evolving. Values can change based on auction results, collector interest, and the general economy. Right now, a top-graded example of the 2005 P. Roosevelt dime has been reported at auction to fetch as much as $25,000. That is today's market. Who knows what the future may hold? Coins like this could continue to rise in value as more people enter the hobby, as fewer perfect examples remain in circulation, and as the historical importance of these modern rarities becomes clearer. Let us not forget the human side of the story too. The Roosevelt dime is not just a coin, it is a symbol. It carries the memory of a president who led the nation through the Great Depression and World War II. It reminds us of the fight against polio and the way small donations, just a dime at a time, changed the course of history in medicine. And now, decades later, that same coin is changing lives again in a very different way, by rewarding lucky collectors who happen to find or hold on to the right example. So as we move forward in this video, I am going to show you exactly what to look for in your own pocket change, what errors and conditions matter the most, and how you can tell the difference between an ordinary 2005 P dime and one that might be worth thousands. We will also explore some real auction records, stories from collectors, and tips for safely storing and preserving your coins if you believe you may have something valuable. Whether you are brand new to coin collecting or you are a seasoned numismatist, there is something thrilling about knowing that the next dime you pick up could be hiding a secret fortune. Stay tuned, because by the end of this episode you will never look at your spare change the same way again.